Today we're mixing things up and looking at the best NBA player from every age. And I've thought about doing this video in the past, but now is as good of a time as ever because of all the talent we have throughout every age group in the league. Every age up until a certain point has a star player. So let's get to them and start with the best player at 20 years old. And now we have a lot of young talented players at 20. A lot that are expected to be great and some that are great right now. Guys like Bol Bol, Darius Garland, Kobe White, RJ Barrett, Tyler Hero, and Zion Williamson, who takes this one. Like right at this moment, Tyler Hero is obviously the most proven. He's shown that without a doubt he is going to be a great player in the NBA for the rest of his career. But in terms of what we saw from players this year, Zion Williamson's shown that he is the best player and the most talented. I'm excited for the new season and to see him finally start playing more games, and maybe even become an all-star this year. Then for 21-year-olds, we have Luka Doncic, who easily beats out Ja Morant. Morant's great and a future superstar, but Luka's a superstar right now, and for a 21-year-old, he still has one of the brightest futures we've seen in a very long time. For 22-year-olds, the star power is still there, because we have guys like Mo Bamba, De'Aaron Fox, Michael Porter Jr., Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and DeAndre Ayton. But none of them are competition at this point for Trae Young and Jason Tatum. And between these two, we'd have to give this one to Jason Tatum, and it just comes down to the fact that Tatum's now been in 2 Eastern Conference Finals, and even though he didn't show up in a couple big moments this year, he now has those experiences compared to Trae Young, not even knowing the feel of a playoff basketball game yet. At the age of 23, we have a ton of talent in Brandon Ingram, Bam Adebayo, Devin Booker, and Jamal Murray. And we're gonna give this one to Devin Booker. It's real close between all of these guys, and they all actually rank 12, 11, 10, and 9 in my top 25 under 25 video, but Devin takes it for being his team's leader and star player. I guess you could say that Brandon Ingram is also those things for the Pelicans at this point, but Booker's clearly a step ahead of Ingram. In terms of players 24 years old, there's guys like D'Angelo Russell, Ben Simmons, Karl Anthony Towns, and Donovan Mitchell. And Mitchell takes the slight edge over all of them, because none of them have had the amount of success that he has while being the best player on their team. And at only 24, he's still only getting better. By the time he's 27 or 28 in his prime, I'm hoping to see him put up Bradley Beal type numbers, but until then we'll see. 25-year-olds are one of the ages with the most talent right now, but obviously none of them beat out Giannis because almost nobody in the league would. And it's crazy to process the fact that he's still only getting better from here, and there's no doubt about that. With his work ethic, he's only going to become more dominant, and pretty soon he'll be the best player in the league. Then again, we got a lot of good players at 26 years old, but no real competition for Joel Embiid. And he'll be 27 pretty soon, so he's no longer one of these young guys, and he's about to enter his prime, so it's time he really starts dominating like he's been expected to his entire career. And now with players at 27, we're getting into guys who have just now really entered their prime, and seeing guys play at or pretty close to their full potentials, and Anthony Davis is one of them. And it's crazy to think about how young he still is, considering the fact that he's been like at least the top 5 player in the league for a few years now. Then pretty surprisingly, 28's like the prime of a lot of players' careers, but there really wasn't many stars at that age currently in the NBA. I mean, the only current all-star from this year at this age was Rudy Gobert, but he still gets beat out by Kyrie Irving, who obviously takes this one. And it's crazy to think that Kyrie left Cleveland at 24 and hasn't really done too much notable since then, and is now 28, which is why this year on the Nets, when he now has the first real chance back at a championship, it's gonna be huge for him. He needs to make a big impact this year in the postseason if he wants to maintain his spot as the top player in the league. And honestly, I think he will. Kawhi Leonard is the best 29-year-old in the NBA, and there's not really any competition for him. Chris Middleton, CJ McCollum, and Joe Harris are all the same age, but obviously they aren't better than Leonard. Then for 30-year-olds, we got a lot of talent here. Draymond Green, Paul George, Nikola Vucevic, and Klay Thompson. But we also have Damian Lillard, who takes this one, and he's going to be in his prime for a few more years. It's weird though to think about the fact that Kawhi is younger than him, but I guess it makes sense considering he spent all 4 years in college. Either way though, we're seeing Lillard at the top of his game right now, and over the next couple of years he's only expected to get better. At 31 years old, the best player easily goes to James Harden, and guys' primes usually start to show signs of slowing down around 33, so I would say if that's the case, he better make some moves quick that are going to lead him to a championship. But I think his playstyle will let him be great a little longer than that. And same for Steph Curry, who takes the spot for the best player at age 32. And and he beats out Kevin Durant here. But yeah, Curry's still in his prime, but he's going to be playing at a high level for a much longer time than usual. He doesn't have to be super athletic to shoot the ball the way he does, and he doesn't have to be real quick or be able to jump high to get to the basket and hit layups through defenders like he can. I really don't know how long he'll be able to keep things up with being a star level player, but assuming no injuries and his ankles hold up, he may be able to have the longevity LeBron's having. I mean, it'll definitely be exciting to see 37, 38-year-old Steph Curry still breaking down defenders and hitting near half-court shots like it's nothing. Switching over to players that are 33, the best is Mike Conley, and there was really no one else this spot could have gone to, and that surprised me. No one else that was even close to being an all-star or anything. I mean, the other players that were 33 were like Ersan Ilyasova and Ian Mahinmi. But that's okay because Conley's still a great player and that doesn't take anything away from him. And even though the Jazz didn't exactly get the Mike Conley they were expecting for most of the season, with him having a lot of struggles, he started to show up though in the playoffs when it mattered most. Now whether that was only because his wife just had a kid or because he's just going to turn it up in the postseason remains to be seen until next year. So overall, not many great players at 33, but 1 year older at 34 gives us guys like Dwight Howard, Al Horford, Kyle Lowry, and Lou Williams. And obviously that means the best at this age is Kyle Lowry, who's still at the top of his game and is playing the best of his career at a time when most players start to show signs of slowing down. I've never been a huge fan of him, but for what he's been able to do this year after Kawhi left, he deserves nothing but respect. Chris Paul and LeBron James are both 35 years old, and both of these guys are far better than anyone thought they'd be by this point. I mean, CP3 is obviously not as good as he was in his prime, but he really hasn't shown many signs that him and his game are going anywhere. And it's good to see. Most guys in his 2005 draft class are long gone and have been for years, but he's still nearly an all-star. And as for LeBron James, who would have thought that while nearly every single player from his draft is retired, he's still almost just as athletic as ever and is still the best player in the world. For the age of 36, we're getting up there now, to the age people definitely aren't themselves anymore, and the age they usually start to retire, and our two choices are Carmelo Anthony and Andre Iguodala. Well, it's weird for this one because Carmelo Anthony is probably the better player at this point, but most teams in the league would much rather have Andre Iguodala on their team for his clutch defense, even though he's not nearly the player he once was. And neither of them are, but we're still gonna give the slight edge here to Carmelo. Then, believe it or not, as of the making of this video, there's no players in the NBA that are 37 years old. At 38 though, the best we have, and actually the only player we have, is Tyson Chandler. The only 39-year-old is Kyle Korver, and last up for 40-year-olds, there's Jamal Crawford and Udonis Haslem. In this past year, they were the oldest players in the league behind Vince Carter, but they almost don't even count for the video. I mean, Udonis Haslem played 4 games this season, and Jamal played in 1 single game this year. Don't think he'll be back next year, but UD might be to be the Heat's locker room leader, which would make him the oldest player in the NBA next season. And there you have it, the best player from every age. Let me know down below if there's anything you would have changed. If not, drop a like on the video, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.